to get cranking. We've got a lot of stuff to cover today that I think is pretty interesting, and we may not get to it all, but we'll just go as far as we can. See what happens. So we played with stress. We played with the physiology of stress last time. We kind of discussed what happens immediately when we say to ourselves in any way, uh-oh, that something bad is going to happen, right? Is that what we do pretty much? Does that sound familiar?
Yes.
Yes? Okay. Just want to be redundant here. So what I would like to do today is kind of look at the immediate effects, not the immediate effects, the slightly longer effects of chronic activation of the stress response. So basically we're talking about, we have the stress response where we have this, and what do we call this right here? Good. And then the fight or flight response turns on. We decided it's supposed to last about how long? 2 to 3 minutes, and then it's over. Okay, so then you go back to homeostasis. Well, what we're going to talk about today is what happens when we stay up here in the fight or flight response, which we'll call chronic stress. Why is that dangerous to us, and how can we explain nearly all of the problems, health problems that people have, and why stress might be a factor in nearly everything that we can look at as a possible, not cause, but a possible, what's the right word? It can make it worse. Now, before we do that, I want to kind of talk about one thing that I think is really cool about us as human beings. I mentioned this in the stress class, so this will feel redundant if you were in there, but let me ask this. Has anyone here gotten really drunk? Just really just drunk off your gourd? Not going to admit it. Kimberly, you have? Who else? Oh, Sean, a few of you. Okay. Has anyone ever gone to a place like Golden Corral? Not drunk. That would be a, what? Yeah. The all you can eat, and it's pretty good food for most people's tastes. And eaten just way too much. Has anyone ever done this? Just gone there and just eaten far, far more than, how big's your stomach? It's like this big, it's 2 fists, right? And you think about how many times you go back for servings. I mean, you're going to pay that much for food, you might as well get a lot, right? Now, let me ask, those of you who have been quite drunk, how do you feel either that evening when you were drinking quite a bit, or the next morning when you're quite hungover? How do you feel? Do you remember?
Sick.
Sick in what way? What were some of the feelings that you had?
Stomach.
What?
The stomach? Like that kind of stuff?
I don't know, anything. How did you feel when you say I felt sick? What does that look like for you?
I was nauseous.
Nauseous?
I didn't want to get out of bed.
Didn't even want to move? Do you remember?
Headache, stomach, sweats.
The sweats?
Lightheaded.
You just started sweating for no,
Just kind of
weren't working out, but you're
kind of
sweating.
dampen moist, yeah.
You remember?
Headache, nausea.
How do you feel when you've been, when you've eaten far too much at Golden Corral or Sizzler or somewhere like that? Have a check.
Throw up.
You want to throw up? Okay. Do you feel lively and happy and wonderful and want to attack the world?
You're tired.
Tired? Yeah, I've seen people who just kind of waddle. There was a place in Virginia called Bryan's. Unbelievable. It was like Golden Corral times 2 or 3. It was more food and it was so good. And you'd see people barely make it through the doorway. They were so wide. And they just eat.
I remember one time I went to the sushi when I was in high school and I ate like 53 pieces of sushi. And it was before I could drive, and so my mom was going to pick me up and I'd meet a friend up, and we went outside and sat in the grass and I passed out.
Just fell over.
And I fell asleep.
Now.
Like 2
Well.
o'clock in the afternoon.
Now that's an interesting kind of the direction I'm going. Because somebody gets really drunk and gets hungover the next day doesn't necessarily mean that that person is an evil, bad person. Because somebody goes to Golden Corral and eats way too much doesn't mean that they have a character flaw, that there's something wrong with him or her. Eating too much sushi doesn't make you a bad person. But what it does, what I've noticed as I've been studying health over the many years I have, and I keep seeing this over and over again, and it keeps showing up for me as well, is every time we do something that is not very useful for us, not very healthy, you know, using the holistic look of health, our body gives us feedback saying, bad call. There's nothing evil about getting drunk. It's not good for your liver. It kills hundreds of thousands of brain cells. But you're still a great person. But your body's telling you by the feedback it's giving you when you are, you know, in that wonderful state, Sean, this is a bad call for me. This is not healthy for the human condition. It's not a healthy thing for me. Now we can go on the opposite side of the spectrum and say, well, how do you feel when you just go eat a salad or something not so heavy? Or how do you feel when you go and work out or play racquetball or do something fun, go for a bike ride? Or how do you feel when you go serve somebody, when you go help somebody out in need who's really struggling and you give them something useful of your time? How do you feel when you have a wonderful conversation with somebody and you just connect with him or her? How do you feel when you meditate? Are those different feelings that we get when we do those kinds of things? Are those different? Do we feel different than we do when we're hungover? And it doesn't make us any better of a person because we have those feelings. It's just our body telling us that's a good call. I mean, what's the main thing that a lot of people go for who are exercise addicts? People who have to exercise every day. What are they doing it for? Yeah, because of the endorphin rush from the exercise. We all have felt that where we're jogging along, we're biking, and then after a while, we get this huge flood of, oh man, it's been so great. Why do we have that? There must be some reason why we have that endorphin rush while we're exercising, while we're working out. Why do we have that? Exactly. Our body says, this is a good thing for you, and I'm going to let you know that this is a good thing by giving you these great feelings so that you'll do it more. Our body knows what's good for us. Our mind doesn't always, getting drunk, eating too much. But our body does. Our body knows what's good for us. Bless you. What's really good for our well-being. Now, the reason why I say all that is stress falls into that same picture. Whenever we do something that seems to be, that initiates the stress response and keeps us in a state of imbalance for any longer than that time that it's designed to be on, then we also start to get